Hey everybody, I am coming making this video message and I want to talk to you about a pit experience. I know you may be wondering what a pit experience is. A pit experience is when you are torn down to a very, very low level, or you're torn down literally to nothing. And some people think that when they have, or if they have, a pit experience, that it is because God is punishing them or they are reaping something that they sowed. You will have certain seasons where you reap certain things that you sowed, and you will be paid back and judged by God because of certain things that you put out. But in a pit experience, that pit is where you either find out who God is, or you are able to focus more on God and learn about who He is. And so in the pit, there are several things that begin to happen, and I'm about to explain it to you all. The number one thing that you have to know is when you experience certain things after you come into Christ, you have to know and understand that sometimes people are showing you who they are without you always having a direct answer straight out of their mouth. The behavior of people when you are having a pit experience, it shows who respects you, it shows who loves you, it shows who knows God for real, it shows the people who are willing to extend more grace and mercy and understanding to you because they can see that you're having a hard time. In the pit, you are learning who God is. You are learning His voice. And if you don't know God's voice, you find out about who God is. One thing I can tell you, and I am a living witness, when I have had pit experiences in my life, I was able to hear the voice of the Lord more clearly at times that I was really going through something. And sometimes you have to have that pit experience, because if God continues to allow you to move forward and everything is easy for you and you never have a challenge and things are never ever taken away from you to bring your focus back and to bring you back into the perfect will of God, you will not change. You will continue to do things the way you personally want to do them. And so sometimes God will tear you down in order to pull you back up. If you all really think about it, the minute that you had your pit experience, you started to notice that things that you once had were being taken away from you. A lot of you all, you've had loss after loss after loss. Loss can look like you're losing family members. They're dying out. Or you have friends that are dying, or someone that you really love and they were close to you. You may have had a loss after loss after loss financially. You may be taking hits to your health. You may be taking hits to all of the relationships around you. And your most embarrassing and humiliating moments and seasons, it also shows who is really there for you. It shows you that it reveals people hearts when you are having a pit experience. But if you really look over your life and you can be honest and say, before you came into the knowledge of God and before you found out who God is, you were out here doing what you wanted to do when you wanted to do it. And so the man or the woman that you have become, God has to completely wash that away from you and rebuild you up so you can be molded into the man or the woman He wants you to be molded into. See, before we all have found God and we learn to prioritize God and build our one-on-one relationship with Him, there are many choices that we made. There are many decisions that we made. We have done things the way that we personally want to do them. And we were not always consulting with God. Whether it be you became friends with certain people, whether it be you got into a relationship with somebody you were not supposed to get into a relationship with. Some people have even went as far as marrying somebody, and they never consulted with God about it. They literally did what they wanted to do. They allowed lust to control them. They allowed what they personally wanted to put them in a position where they felt them making a decision was the right decision. We move where we want before we knew God, and we didn't consult with him. We worked certain jobs and didn't consult with God. We open up and show our vulnerabilities to the wrong people before we learned who God was, and before we learned about character and self-control and patience and wisdom. And even before God may have gifted you with the gift of discernment, we became, up until God got a hold of a lot of us, we became, or you have become, the man or woman that you personally formed yourself into as far as making certain decisions. And so when you decide to allow God to take over, and you tell God, God, I want you to transform me. God, I want you to change my life. Lord, I want you to deliver me. I want you to heal me. I want you to do something different in me. Make me over. And so when we go to God with this attitude, and when we tell God that we want him to have full control over us and our lives, that is when you start to see a lot of times, it may not happen for everybody, but for a lot of us, you will start to go down. And to outside people, it really will look like you're out here losing, which is why a lot of people, when you have this pit experience, they stop coming around. They get uncomfortable. Now, some people, they just don't want to come around you when you are having a dark moment or a pit experience, because they need help themselves. So don't always think that if it's somebody who is your friend or somebody that says they care about you and they know you're going through, if they're not coming around you or calling you or reaching out to you, it's not always because they just don't want to. Some people, they really have their own things going on and they don't have anything to offer you. And so they will avoid you. Some people, they are just preoccupied. They're caught up with doing things in their life and they don't really think to reach out to you or to contact you. But see, I'm not even referring to those people. I'm talking about people who they can offer you resources. They can help you, even if it's nothing but praying for you and asking how you are. But sometimes your pit experience and the way that it looks and whatever level it's at, that will make people uncomfortable to where they will not come around you. I'm making this video message because I want you all to understand that there are so many things that goes on when you are having a pit experience. Like I said, you get to know who God is if you never knew him, or you hear God's voice more clearly. You also learn about certain things pertaining to you and your mentality and your attitude. You really find out what you are made of in your pit experience. Some people, when they are knocked down to nothing, they give up. They don't want to fight. They don't want to try. They give in to what Satan tells them and they lose hope for themselves. They don't see hope for a future. They don't feel like their life or their situation is going to get better. So no matter how bad it gets, they rest in it and continue to move forward. And they feel like, hey, if I die today or die tomorrow, it is what it is. I'm not fighting and going through anything extra because I've fought enough. I've done all that I can. I'm exhausted now. But in your pit experience, my beautiful brothers and sisters, you start to really, really see who rocks with you when you are in a very low humiliating and embarrassing moment, you start to see who really is for you. Because what also happens is that in your pit experience, you will hear whispers sometimes. You don't even have to be looking for it or digging for it or investigating anything. You will come across people, or you will hear through the grapevine what is being said about you. You will see how people feel about you. If you were the man or woman who, in the midst of your pit experience, whether you are currently in it now or you remember when you used to be in the pit, I can guarantee that it was some of you all, you ran into somebody that you used to be like this with, or you ran into a certain family member, or you ran into someone that you actually deem as a real friend, or you deem them as loving you, respecting you, and you look at them as a solid person. But you may have run into somebody during your pit experience, whether it was from the past or currently, and they just give you a certain look. They give you a certain look of disgust because you are no longer at the level that you used to be. And that right there shows you if somebody is really fake and phony with you. Hard times always exposes who is really for you. Hard times, it exposes it. Some people can become so embarrassed about your pit experience and what you're going through that they don't want to be associated with you. If somebody asks them, is that your girl? Is that your guy? That's your friend? You hang with her? You hang with him? Oh, well, I heard they lost their house. They had a good job. What happened? I heard that person went to jail. I thought he or she was saved. Oh, they broke up? They got an ugly divorce? I'm shocked to hear that, because I know the type of person he is. I know the type of person she is. In your pit experience, a lot of people, they're not going to come to you. They're not going to ask you any questions. They're not going to reach out to you, but they will be full-blown comfortable talking about you and even circulating what you're going through in that pit experience to everybody else. But I want to let you all know that if you are currently having a pit experience, it's still not over for you. Right before God brings you to a higher level, God has to make sure that you are humble. He has to make sure that you are humble, because a lot of sons and daughters of the Lord, sometimes we have a bad habit of getting high and mighty when God does something in our lives. And when we accomplish something, even as far as God using us mightily, some people in the kingdom, they get besides themselves. And God has to bring them back down to earth and humble them. Your pit experience is good for you. And you've got to know and understand that if you are now in that dark pit, or you feel like you are torn down to nothing, you've got to know that you are exactly where God wants you to be. Because if you are not figuring out who God is, what God is doing is He's removing everything that you became before you included Him in your life. Before you included Him in your life, before you put Him first, before you consulted with God about certain things going on in your life and with you, you picked up certain habits. You develop a certain mindset that you should not have had before God got involved with you. And anything that is not from God, anything that is not like God, anything that didn't have God's hand in it, God will remove it. If you right now are saying, you know what, I loved him, I loved her, and they are no longer in my life, you better understand that that pit experience is to refine you. It is to cleanse you. Because before you got God involved, you got with that man, you got with that woman, and now that man or that woman, they are not aligned with now where you are in Christ. So when God decides to bring you out that pit experience, that man or that woman cannot come with you. They can no longer be connected or associated with you. You're not even the same man or woman that you used to be before God allowed you to get into that pit experience. Sometimes when people walk away from you and they see you in that pit experience, when they go, the respect that they have for you, if they had it, it goes along with them as well. They're not going to stick around. Sometimes people don't even know what to do when you are having a pit experience. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to offer. They leave you exactly where you are, and sometimes they feel like you are stunted in your growth spiritually, and there is nothing that they can offer you to help you to be better. There is greatness inside of you, although you may be in a pit. It's greatness there. And don't ever allow anybody to make you think that from your pit experience and all of the losses and all of the failures and all of the mistakes and all of the opportunities that were snatched from you and all of the doors that was closed in your face, don't ever allow anybody to make you think that you still are not great. Don't never be deceived by Satan, because he's a deceiver. He wants you to really believe that you are not called, you are not anointed, God is not going to use you because you are so low. You are now torn down to such a small level to where people don't even want to be around you. They're laughing at you. They're mocking you. They don't respect you. You are a joke out here to certain people. Don't think that that means greatness is not on you. Don't think that that means you are still not called or anointed. As a man or a woman of God, you have to go through a pit experience. Some people say it's wilderness. It's the wilderness. But sometimes you will literally feel like you are thrown down in darkness in a pit because nothing is working out for you. But when God brings you out and you are refined and you are more mature and you learn to be humble and make him your priority, that is when God can use you. That is when God gets the glory out of your life. Your pit experience is needed to make you better. That's the point of this entire video message. You need the pit experience. Well, guys, it's time for me to go because I have some other things to do. The Lord willing, I will be back with another video message. If any one of you have taken offense to anything I spoke about in this video message, it's okay. It's all right. I'm not worried about it. I am not concerned because I know you will forgive me in the morning.